Hello, everyone, and welcome to another season of ASCII Anything presented by Moser Consulting. I'm your host, Angel Leon, Moser's Director of Personnel, and I'm glad to be with you because this is season 8 of ASCII Anything. But before we get to that, let's bring in my favorite producer in the business, producer Brian.
Oh, I thought you were going a different route. My favorite producer of ASCII Anything, because I'm the only one.
We have a fun one for you today. One of our favorite things to record, and that is crowdsourcing. Today, we're talking about the best and worst, the favorite, least favorite IT scene in pop culture. And listen, this is the kind of episode where we asked our consultants what they thought were the best and worst IT scenes in movies, TVs, any type of representation, maybe a commercial somewhere. And this is where we get to have a lot of fun because our IT people, I know they're actually they're fun people. They love to get down.
And they have opinions.
Yes, they do. They do. They do a lot. Listen, word of advice: don't call Johnny the IT guy. Call him by his name. I can guarantee the service will be 10 times better if you do call Johnny the IT guy by their name. So they appreciate it.
We have a beautiful, I don't know, melange of examples provided by our folks at Moser from this is a very solid, decently rendered example of a situation or a technology or a position or job in the IT field, all the way to I was so angry and so bored by this that I rolled my eyes so hard I went temporarily blind.
Yes.
And all points in between.
Before we were recording this, I was watching a clip from one of the scenes that we're going to talk about later. And as I was watching it, and actually it is from a show that's it's a police procedural, right? It's I don't want to call it out by name, but it has 4 letters in its name.
They investigate crime scenes that don't take place on land or in the air. That's more water based.
Yeah. Naval, maybe. And as I was watching that 50-second clip, as somebody who's worked in the government space before, and now worked in the private sector in IT, and have seen the work that both the government folks and our IT folks in the private sector do, when I was watching that scene, I almost wanted to throw up.
As the person who was out trolling for examples, you're like, hey, anybody get like this one? It came up so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't mention this scene in this episode.
Yeah.
Don't even bother covering this topic.
I have a huge problem with that scene. And listen, I love the show. I worked in law enforcement for 15, 16 years, and I could sit here and talk law enforcement all day long. This scene is terrible.
It's just bad.
It's bad.
Just bad.
I'm not going to spoil it, but all the screens popping up, and it's like, no.
But on hell, they're in command prompt.
Yeah.
They've got it. They've got it. And just it's the 2 techs, 1 keyboard scene from NCIS, and it has to be, I mean, at least according to our internal informal poll, one of the absolute worst representations of information technology, hacking, cybersecurity, just a basic computer interface.
Yes.
2 people are literally combating a hacker by typing at the same time on the same keyboard, which is not how you get faster, better, 2 different sets of code attacking. Like, that's how you get gibberish. You might as well drop your keyboard down a flight of stairs or get a really extra long cord for it and throw it in the dryer and hit, tumble.
Yeah. No, it makes 0 sense. The whole scene is a mess, and the ending. Listen, go watch it. Like, before you pause the episode, go watch the scene.
I love Gibbs, but even the resolution of the scene, I'm pretty sure what he did was unplug the monitor.
Yeah, I'm too. Yeah, ditto.
It's 50-50 because you're back there, you're not exactly sure, but I mean, he's just as likely to have only unplugged the monitor as he is to have unplugged anything that might actually do something.
Yeah. He might have unplugged her heater. I don't know. Her fan. I don't know. Listen, at that point, just take your weapon and shoot at the thing. Why not?
Pistol whip it.
Yeah. Take a hammer at it. I don't know. Go Office Space. Go do something. And yes, I did
That one,
use Office Space as a verb.
yeah,
'Cause you have
that
to
one,
do
but
that.
that one came up multiple times, and at no point was anybody like, "Oh, it's like it's so funny." No, it's just automatic anger. It's just flames on the side of my face. Make it stop.
But beyond that, moving from the worst, which I think this is the worst, we have a lot of other things that we're going to throw at you. And we hope you're going to like it because we do have some best scenes, some scenes that actually do portray real life IT work in television and cinema. So stay tuned for those.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do when making an episode about like IT stereotypes and IT tropes is do an entire run of just people coming in and going, actually,
Yeah,
that
no,
in and of itself is an IT trope and stereotype. So like
yeah.
it's not all negative this week. We have some really good examples too. So there are people that are out there doing it right. The cast and writers of Mr. Robot came up a number of times as like that
Mhm.
is a show that no specific instances, but just in general, that is a wonderfully rendered
Good.
IT
Yeah,
representation. So if you're
yeah,
looking for great, that one came up multiple times. Check it
yeah.
out.
This is gonna be fun. And now we have Mike Boris with us, who you've heard before from the Mike Boris and Lori Wheeler episodes in the past. And Mike brings us an interesting take on shows that talk about image processing. And I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let Mike explain. Mike, how are you?
I am well, Angel. Thank you. I can't even guess how many times I've seen this, and it turns my stomach every time I hear it, and then I giggle, and then I cry. It's, this image processing software, right? Any crime show you've ever seen where someone says enhance, and we're looking at this grainy, out of focus, long distance photo where they enhance and enhance
Yeah.
and enhance and that corner over there and bring that in, and can you bring the brightness up over here and do that, and they get the eye color of the guy who's wearing sunglasses from the reflection of the passing car in the window of the bakery on the other side of the street, and they enhance further and get the fingerprints off the smudge
Yep.
on the windshield from the same guy. And it's like, okay, how many pixels does this guy's camera phone have? It's
A
crazy.
thousand. I can relate to this so much because I forget the show or the movie that it was. I'm pretty sure it was one of these shows that we've talked about already, NCIS or whatever, in which they're enhancing this picture of mud and they're trying to take a booth. Oh, there's a footprint there. It's a booth. Oh, great. Let's go ahead and enhance that. And I hate it because every time they say enhance, you hear the keyboard clack, 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 clack. And you're
There's
like,
no
how are
ba-
you enhancing a picture with a keyboard? Like, just
They're in the command window. They're in the
yes,
command window. Hell, you can
everything.
do anything from the command window.
You can't hear a mouse moving on television,
no,
so you need
exactly.
the
No, so you got it's for the you pause for the dramatic, and then you hear the clack.
clack it.
Just
That's all that's hysterical.
And so this is really one of, I think it has to be one of the, MVTs of pop culture, most valuable tropes. Like it's used so often in so many different ways, and in no way, shape, or form is it accurate. And as somebody who works in video and does photography sometimes for the company, it's maddening. It's like, hey, can you do it? No, no, I can't.
No,
That's not a thing.
you can
No,
go now. Yeah. Sorry, you're
I
losing your
cannot.
case. I can't. This is the best you
I
get.
cannot create pixels where there are no pixels.
yeah.
No.
Well, what was the movie a long time ago with Kevin Costner, No Way Out? If for those of you of a certain age listening to this, it was a Polaroid picture, from the click and bzz, and it comes out with
Hmm.
the white thing on the bottom and everybody waves it in the air like that does something. And they had found, I don't know, the negative or something, if there is such a thing, under the bed at the crime scene. And for the entire length of the movie, they went back to this shot on the screen where this bar was moving top to bottom. And every time it moved, the picture got a little bit more in focus or a little bit more detail. And 2 hours into this movie, they're doing the thing and the face is coming up and all this. Where are they getting this from? Where's this information on this 5 pixel photograph to get this thing? But it was early on and it was fantastic. This crime solving technology, and apparently it took off because every crime fighting organization in the world uses it.
Yeah.
If you remember that scene from No Way Out, it's time to schedule your colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got a thing. I got it. Yeah.
PSA.
That's right. While we're here, there you go. So that's mine. Yeah, every time. And my wife loves these crime dramas, and so we watch them all the time. And like, here it comes, enhance, and they all stand around the monitor and point at things, and then they type on the keyboard.
And they look
Complaining.
very serious while they're doing it too. It's
Oh
just
my,
like
well,
enhance
I
right
actually
there. No,
got
right
to-
there to the bottom right.
I actually
exactly.
got to try it once. The place I used to work, we had a kind of an airport bus that we would go and pick up clients to bring them to our headquarters for learning opportunities and symposiums and stuff. And somebody crawled under it in the middle of the night and cut out the catalytic converter.
Nice.
And so, like on the security cameras behind the building, you see the car pull up, slow down, stop, and pull out again. And like 20 minutes later, pull back up, and like somebody got out, crawled into the bus with a sawzall. And they came back and picked them up. And they're like, "Can you zoom in on the license plate and see if we can read it?" And I'm like, "I mean, I can zoom in on the license plate. We're not going to be. It's dark. It's across the parking lot. So, I mean, I can do that. It's going to be like, I might as well just cover my hand in ink and smack the desk and see if you can read whatever you think those numbers are will be as close to what you're going to be able to read on that license plate." But I did it, and they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, it's not a thing. It's not a thing."
Too funny.
Well, Mike, this was fun. Thank you very much for bringing this topic forward because, as you could tell, Brian and I had thoughts, and this was a good one. Thanks, Mike.
Well, you're very welcome. And hey, if the audio didn't come out well, enhance.
Yes.
All right. Joining us now is Tom, who was the first to mention what he has brought to us.
Well, at least the first one that came to mind, Brian, when you posted that was Independence Day, where Jeff Goldblum on an Apple Macintosh laptop, and mind you, this is pre-OS X. This is like Mac OS 9 or Mac OS 8, so it's not even Unix based. Somehow manages to link up to the Wi-Fi on the alien mothership, and shame on the aliens for invading Earth and not having a good solid password on their Wi-Fi. Manages to log into their Wi-Fi and somehow hack their computer, that they've managed to fly these spaceships across the galaxy to get to Earth, and he manages to crash the mothership with a Mac laptop, and that just smacks of, are you kidding me?
If you're going to leave on an interstellar trip, install a firewall.
Yeah, and you know, throw a capital letter, a lower letter, maybe not use Roman text as your symbols base when you're creating your passwords. I don't know, maybe use the alien one, go with Krypton, go with Klingon. I don't know, but come on, guys.
Yeah. Now, in defense of the writer or writers, I imagine Independence Day has a panel of writers that are credited for it. But in their defense, articles I have read say, like, and even in some of the deleted scenes for the movie, it did not make the theatrical release, but it turns out that like all of the computer technology on Earth grew from them finding these ships. So our systems were based on their systems, which is how they can talk. So I'll give credit to the writers for including that, no matter how improbable it still would be. But where I lay the blame is the director and the editor. It can't have taken that long to give a tip of the hat to that information so that people aren't like, why can a MacBook hack a spaceship? That makes zero sense. In the story and in the writing, at some point it made sense, and they edited it as such to where it's ridiculous.
You know, we call that in sci-fi geekdom, we call that the Doctor Who clause. Doctor Who, it's replete with contradictions. If you go back in an episode and compare to here, you know, how many 30 years, 40, 50 years they've been running Doctor Who. But Doctor Who always manages to do this. He'd always say something to the effect of, well, you know, that would work except for, oh no, an alien attack. And they're about to tell you what the reason is, and then suddenly there's an explosion off screen, or a Dalek actually manages to go more than 3 miles an hour and attack somebody in a rather vicious way.
If it's going more than 3 miles an hour, it's clearly attacking downhill.
Yeah.
Like
Something like that.
Doctor Who's been around so long that
Generations.
a more recent doctor actually married the daughter of a former doctor. I cannot remember. It's
that's kind of intergalactically weird. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like apparently like time lords don't get hung up on that kind of thing. It's perfectly fine, but it's this is not within the show. Like the actor who plays David Tennant, who was the 10th Doctor, married the daughter of Peter Davison, who was the 5th Doctor.
Oh, so you're talking in real
This is
life,
not within the show.
actors.
No, like I'm talking like
Oh,
out
okay.
in the world.
That's not the most egregious movie thing. I don't know if it falls under science fiction. It certainly was a quote a horror movie, but the worst, most egregious thing I've seen in movies was the entire movie of Signs by M. Night Shyamalan. You know, basically, you've got an alien race that invades a planet that's essentially 3/4 sulfuric acid to them.
Right. Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea? Your big defense system is the sprinklers at Bushwood Country Club. I mean, Bill Murray can push these bad guys back, and the Gopher will still be kicking their ass.
I don't know why their long range sensors wouldn't pick up like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, you know, and it's not like those aliens were clothed or in, you know, protectives. They're running around naked. You know, all aliens seem to show up naked. We're the only species in the galaxy that has clothes. I don't know.
And shame. We're the only species that has shame, apparently.
Yeah, this is true. And writing like that, we should be ashamed.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And we heard from Sarah Grady, who talked to us about Jarvis. I've got to say, I like Jarvis. I was telling you before this recording, I like him both in the comics and in the movies. I think the movie adaptation did a really good job of bringing Jarvis to life, especially, you know, those early years, right? When he was just a voiceover. I just think and hope that that would be what AI would be like really for us eventually at some point in our lives, is that you get a AI voice that will talk back to you and kind of give you smack every now and then, and you're like, wait, what? Why are you talking to me like that?
Yeah, it's almost like Star Trek in the 60s, like with the automatic doors and things, where like your science fiction,
Yes.
like what people are supposing or imagining with things like then kind of drives development. Because yeah, I think a lot of people hope like, man, I hope AI is like Jarvis. You know, Paul Bettany had a pretty sweet gig there for a while. Just come in, kick off the voiceover, and boom, 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 and gone. And then it was almost like the universe flipped it on him. It was like, hey, you had like 3 or 4 movies where you just came in and did an excellent job, but you just in, out, done, no muss, no fuss. Here's an hours long, painstakingly intricate makeup process for you to sit through every time you're going to record now in payment for how easy it was before. And it's like,
yeah,
oh, man.
For the 7 or 8 movies that you did without actually showing your face on the screen, here you go.
All those days that you showed up at 9 a.m. and were gone by 3 p.m. Now you're in the chair at 2 a.m. to be ready for your 11 a.m. call or whatever it is.
Yeah,
please sit still while we paint all of you.
Yeah.
You want to put that number of commas in my paycheck, I will sit in a makeup chair for as long as you tell me to sit in the makeup chair.
I can do a British accent. Yeah, I don't know. Would you like some tea with that? So
that's what we need. We need a Cockney AI. I want my AI to be Bert from Mary Poppins. You kicking the old afterburner, governor.
Yeah, just answering your question and then ending. Would you like some tea with that too? How about 2 sugars, darling? Yeah, just spice it up. Just
yeah. Where's the Eliza Doolittle voice pack for my AI? The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
Yeah.
Oh, how fast would people walk out of that movie?
Oh, how fast would people turn that AI off? That's like, nope.
That's one way to keep us safe from it.
Yeah. No, but Jarvis, again, one of our favorites.
Yes, I actually have Jarvis from Iron Man. Upon researching, I found out it actually stands for just a rather very intelligent system, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, he's the AI that was created by Tony Stark in the movies, and you probably see him mostly doing things like assistant work. He helps run the business for Stark Industries, and he also manages security for a lot of their businesses. And even while creating like the Iron Man suits, you see, Tony Stark saying, "Hey Jarvis, how do I do this?" Or "Hey Jarvis, do this for me." And a lot of those actions kind of remind me what I ask ChatGPT nowadays. Though I'm sure much more advanced and accurate. Yeah, good example, I think.
Yeah, and I think if you ask a lot of people, like, hey, give me an example of AI, I think that's probably going to be one that a lot of people.
Right. Or even when you ask someone, like, what do you see AI becoming in the future? I think that's a good example of like what you could see coming.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm.
Yeah.
I want my personal flying suit. That'd be fine. I was promised
I do
jetpacks
too.
when I was a kid, and last time I checked, I don't own a jetpack yet. So
Right.
I looked in my closet, jetpackless. So
You can take the suit. I'll take the mansion. So,
that'd be fine. Like if I had a jetpack, I wouldn't be home enough to need a mansion. I'd be
right.
flying on my super cool jetpack everywhere.
All right, and we're here with Casey. It's one of those things that we love to talk about in real life, but I guess it was better if we put it in a podcast.
As everybody has probably already heard of this show multiple times, The Office, the US version, especially. I don't
Yes,
know how many
shout out.
times I've seen this show. Gosh, it's been countless times. In fact, my husband and I don't know if it's become just a household staple, but it's coming up on that time now. I think it's a seasonal thing for us. We tend to watch it around the fall. I don't know why that is. But Nick, the IT guy, more specifically surrounding the episode of The Whistleblower, if anybody remembers, when they Sabre bought them and they were selling printers, and Andy found out that the printers were bad and they started catching on fire. And he was scared to talk about it, of course, because he was afraid of losing his job. Nick, the IT guy, when he was telling everybody that he was leaving to go, I think, help children over in Africa learn computers, I think is what it was. He was going on a mission. He finally was sick and tired of people not knowing his name, which I think kind of maybe a running gag in the IT world, kind of like a
Yeah, I
true but
agree.
not true scenario, a stereotype, but also at the same time kind of true. So he kind of did like an FU situation, like from Half Baked, where he just kind of pointed out to everybody on what he found on their computers. And then he pointed out that Andy was the whistleblower and just flipped everybody off and left. So I thought, you know what, how true, because in some ways, there's this almost unlimited power that the IT world can have. And if you're not careful, you can abuse that power.
Awesome. Casey, thanks so much. I wanted to mention one of mine because it sparked further conversation with you when we were talking about this episode. Instead of like a worst case, mine was like one of my favorites, one of the best cases of IT representation in a movie. And I did a deep cut, early 80s. Matthew Broderick movie War Games. He gets sent to the office on purpose, and he does it regularly because he knows where the school IT people keep the password written down. They change it every couple of weeks, which is a good IT safety measure. But when they change it, they write it down on this piece of paper that's taped inside a desk drawer. And that's terrible security. He knows where it is. So he gets up. So this is absolutely like a classic case of social engineering. He knows the people, he knows where they are, he gets sent there, checks it out, and then that gives him access to the school network to be able to change his and the girl he's interested in's grades after they fail something. I think it was in chemistry. So it's a pretty good case study of social engineering in the movie War Games. And then Casey, you'd said that movie also is one of the best like cinematic representations of
Phone phreaking. Yeah, like if anybody remembers what phone phreaking is, back in the 80s, where it was exploiting the telephone system to make free calls or manipulating the network. I'm sorry, it originated in the 60s and 70s, but when War Games came out, they actually did a perfect representation of it. If you remember a long time ago when Captain Crunch cereal came out, they had a Captain Crunch whistle, and it specifically emitted like the perfect Hertz tone that was the same frequency used by phone systems to indicate like an open line. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but they could
No,
use
you're
that to take
literally just
control of a
blowing my
phone
mind
line.
right now. Honestly, you're actually blowing my mind.
Yeah, literally, that's kind of how it all started, with them being
Holy
able to
cow.
do that. Even Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who built like blue boxes for fun and profit, They were some of the most famous freakers before they founded Apple.
Wow.
In the movie, David is at a payphone, an actual phone booth. And for
Yep.
those of you who are younger listeners, a phone booth was what we used before cell phones came along. There was just random phones, public phones available on the street that you would have to put change into to pay to make a call. And he finds, I think it's a pull tab. For you younger listeners, beer didn't always have a pop top like where it would go into. You had to literally peeled the strip off the top, and not necessarily beer, other drinks as well.
Yes. Sodas, yeah.
Sodas.
Yeah.
We'll go with
yes.
sodas.
Yes.
And it would literally pull and peel off the top, and then people would discard them. And also, you shouldn't litter. But
No.
someone had, and he was able to find one in the parking lot and hold it near the magnet in the phone to get a tone that would then open the phone line.
Yep.
So
yeah,
so
maybe they didn't catch the rights to Captain Crunch or something, and they couldn't use the whistle.
I honestly didn't know that. So thanks for sharing that, Casey. That's actually a really cool tidbit. So thank you.
Yeah, if you want to know where I learned that, believe it or not, when I joined the service and I became a 25 Bravo, which is actually literally IT in the Army MOS, that's where I first learned it, was in AIT, which is where we go to learn our job. So that was the weirdest place that I learned that.
Was that a watch out for this kind of stuff situation, or was that a here's how you call home for free situation?
No, that was more of like, here's the history of ARPANET and how everything all started.
And I have a question. Why do they call it? Is it AIT?
Oh yeah, AIT, Advanced Individual Training. Yeah.
I was gonna say that kind of sounds like, hey, IT, like, because they were.
Yeah, I never. You know what's funny? I never actually put those two together. But yes, Advanced Individual Training.
Well, thank you for taking the time. We really do appreciate it.
Of course. No, thank you for having me.
Angel's going to go on eBay and see if he can find a Captain Crunch whistle now.
Yes,
Oh
I'm
my
sure
gosh.
they're pretty expensive now.
I was gonna say, like, they're probably selling for like $300-400 now.
Yeah. Thank you for listening in to this week's edition of Ask Anything presented by Moser Consulting. We hope you enjoyed listening to our best and worst IT scenes in pop culture. Join us next time when we continue to dive deeper with our resident experts and what they're currently working on. Remember to send us your ideas or topics via social media feeds. In the meantime, please remember to give us a rating and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, enhance. So long, everybody.
Go.